Welcome, 8th graders, to this explainer. I am absolutely pumped to be here with you today because we're going to conquer two wildly important things all at once: your math skills and your spiritual journey. Today, we're diving deep into quadratic mastery and the parabola of spiritual growth. Let's get to it. Okay, let's dive into this. What do quadratic equations and spiritual growth actually have in common? I know, at first glance, numbers on a page and your personal faith, they might seem like totally, completely separate worlds. But as we gear up for your upcoming checkpoint assessment, you're going to see that they are deeply, honestly, beautifully connected. Listen to this incredible verse. Let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord. That's Lamentations 3:40. You see, this week we're wrapping things up with a practice assessment. We need to figure out exactly what you've mastered and, well, where you still need a little room to grow. And just like this scripture reminds us, self-checking, it isn't just some math skill you need to pass a quiz. It's an absolutely vital spiritual habit for life. So, here's our roadmap for today. First, the power of self-reflection. Second, quadratic mastery practice. Third, real-world math applications. Fourth, the parabola of life. And finally, number 5, education meets biblical morality.
All right, section 1, the power of self-reflection.
Taking a moment to assess our strengths and spot our weaknesses is exactly how we build our math confidence, and really, our life skills. And this brilliantly illustrates that comparison. On one hand, we have your math skills, checking equations, plotting points, reviewing formulas. But on the other hand, we have our spiritual skills, examining our ways, reflecting on our choices, and returning to the Lord. You see, assessments train you to pause, reflect, and make corrections. It's a discipline that helps you just as much in your math textbook as it does when you're navigating your daily moral choices. Moving right along to section 2, quadratic mastery practice.
Now, let's roll up our sleeves, shift our focus a bit, and look directly at what you need to know for your checkpoint quiz. Let me just say, I promise you, you already have the tools to succeed. Your quiz is going to test a few very specific, totally manageable concepts. You'll need to know how to write a quadratic from a vertex and a point, rewrite vertex form into standard form, identify the vertex, direction, and axis of symmetry, interpret real-world models, and solve application problems. You guys know how to do this. Let's walk through a few practice questions together right now just to warm up those mental gears.
Okay, take a look at this sample question. We are converting the equation y equals 2 times the quantity x minus 2 squared plus 1, right, into standard form. It's all about logical progression here. Step 1, expand that binomial, the x minus 2 squared part. Step 2, you distribute the 2 across those terms. And step 3, simply add the 1 at the very end. See, by taking it step by step, you strip away all the confusion, and the complex suddenly becomes pretty simple. Now, how about this one? Identify the max, or min, of y equals negative x squared plus 4x minus 5. I want you to mentally visualize the curve of this equation for a second. You see that negative sign right at the front? That's a massive clue. It tells us the parabola opens downward, which means our vertex is going to be sitting up at the absolute highest peak. That's our maximum.
Which brings us to section 3, real-world math applications.
You know, quadratics aren't just abstract numbers sitting passively on a page. They literally govern the real-world physics happening all around us every single day. Let's apply that. Imagine a rocket follows the specific mathematical path. H equals negative 3 times the quantity x minus 2 squared plus 12. What's the height at x equals 3? Well, if we plug in that 3, solve the bracket, multiply by negative 3, and add 12, we get exactly 9. And that number 9? It isn't just an answer on a test. It represents the specific physical height of a rocket flying through the air, modeled absolutely perfectly by math.
And when we're graphing an equation like y equals the quantity x plus 3 squared minus 4, we find our vertex at negative 3, negative 4. Because our leading term is positive here, the direction opens upward. I want you to picture that U shape starting way down at its lowest point of negative 4 and reaching endlessly, infinitely upward toward the sky.
All right, section 4, the parabola of life. Let's move to and see how this builds from literal math graphs into an incredibly powerful spiritual metaphor for your own life. Think about the definition of a parabola we just mapped out. Yes, it's a mathematical U-shape, but it completely, perfectly mirrors our human experience. And this is actually our biblical morality tip for the week. Just as a graph has direction and symmetry, so should your life.
Your words, your actions, and your choices should follow a clear, intentional path of purpose and righteousness. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how we can look at the mathematical vertex. When challenges come, and they will come, and your personal graph dips to a minimum, remember this bit of wisdom. Your lowest point is never the end. It is simply a necessary part of the shape where God steps in to help lift you back up to growth. The math itself literally reminds us that a turnaround is always built in to the equation. And that leads us to our final section, Section 5, Education Meets Biblical Morality. This brings us right to the absolute heart of what you're learning, and more importantly, why you're learning it here at HeroesMart Academy. The crucial point is this central philosophy driving the Godly Learners series. Education without morality will hurt. It is a powerful, unshakable truth. We deliberately intertwine biblical morality directly with your education for a very specific reason.
Because honestly, I want you to really reflect on this for a second. What is the point of being incredibly smart and supposedly highly educated if you just continue making bad choices that hurt yourself and the people around you? Intellectual knowledge, like knowing how to expand a binomial or identify an axis of symmetry, must absolutely be anchored by a strong moral compass. Without it, all that brain power is just misdirected.
Furthermore, look at Romans 8:67. It promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. That is the ultimate reward right there. And it's our genuine experience that as people engage with this content, balancing rigorous academics with deep, meaningful spiritual truths, that true peace of mind is exactly what they find. So, I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on as you study for your checkpoint quiz today. As you map your next parabola both on the graph paper in front of you and in your daily life, will you let God's wisdom guide your direction? Study hard, trust the process, and remember that you have exactly what it takes to master both the equations on the page and the challenges in your life. Good luck.